Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder, and I am so super excited today about my guest. She's the one and only CEO of The Dames, Meghann Conter. And when I tell you this woman is amazing and kind and loving and not afraid to be vulnerable and allows you that same space, that's just scratching the surface. I'm going to read her bio and bring her on. So, Meghann Conter uses her power to connect, elevate, entertain, and celebrate extraordinary women as the CEO of The Dames, a global community that is an incubator for the greatness of women running and leading 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses. Yeah. Meghann is looking for members internationally and potential chapter presidents and connectors across North America. You can learn more about The Dames at thedames.co. So, without further ado, let's meet Meghann.
Hello, Iris. Are we going to sing and dance the show? That's what I'm wondering.
Hello, Meghann. Yes, hello, Meghann.
Woo! This is awesome.
Yes.
It's been a long time coming, and I noticed that we both wore black today, so we're channeling our Darth Vader energy, like what's behind you, I guess. I don't know.
Yes.
It's the slimming energy.
There we go.
Okay. So we are entertaining, if nothing else.
I mean, if nothing else. So it's so funny because, I talk about The Dames all the time on the podcast.
I love it.
Because The Dames has made me a better human and a better business person.
Awesome. That's what we aim to do. So, yes.
And you've done it. And we have something we can't talk about yet. We have a couple of months, but because of the education and the camaraderie and the going, I should probably get a business coach. My business kicked ass last year. The way that I do business changed. My messaging in my business is crystal clear. And it's all due to the organization that you started, because you're just freaking amazing.
Thank you, Iris. I appreciate that. Is there a question in there? Do you want me to?
No, but you didn't just happen along to The Dames, right? And you in general, right? So,
right.
So you are amazing and accomplished, but you also had shit happen. So let's talk about you and your journey. Okay,
you got it. So let's start back. It was a snowy day in 1979, Colorado Springs, Colorado. Just kidding. I won't go back that far. And here's where it all started. I was looking for a job in 2009, which was the worst time to be looking for a job. I had been laid off as being in marketing in the housing industry and architecture specifically. And I was looking for a job in the worst time, trying to find one. And I decided, because I met a couple of kick-ass entrepreneurs who convinced me that it would be an easy thing to start my own business. So I started a business in social media in 2009, and, in a space where I was living with 2 roommates, and I was like, okay, I got to make this work, because I jumped in, I got I created my first business card, and I went to the leads groups, and I just was like, I'm going to do this thing. And I felt like it was the right thing for me. It was an immediate, yes, I'm meant to be an entrepreneur. I can do this thing. That was the ramen years, I love to call them. And I just barely made it by, but I still was convinced, and I knew that this was my journey. This was exactly where I was supposed to be. So I really started sinking my teeth into entrepreneurship in about 2012. And that was also when about 2010 is when I began my spiritual journey, but those two journeys have gone side by side for me, and same with my personal growth journey. So you will hear me talk about it very frequently, that we can't grow professionally if we're not going to grow personally. Yeah. And we have to learn how to consistently up level as humans, not only as business owners. And so the more that I would dive deep into my psyche or dive deep into my spiritual being, the easier it was for me to go to that next level in business. And I learned that social media wasn't going to be a great focus for me at that time. And I didn't want to be running a social media management company anymore. So I moved into branding and marketing strategy, which was much more my background and my persona and the way that I do things well anyways. So I was a consultant for many years. And while this was something that I was very passionate about and very good at, and I started to help women grow from 6 to 7 figures by helping them rebrand and re-envision in accordance to what their higher alignment was, so that they could then build a marketing plan, and we'd rebuild their websites, et cetera, get everything looking right and positioned to the right market. I loved doing this. It was very deep and gratifying work, and it still wasn't the nail on the head for me. It was, when I hit my first 6 figures, it was a hard 6 figures. And then when I was growing that business, it was a hard 6-figure business. But at that time, I was also leading other people's networking groups. I was always in the front of the room. I've always been a leader. I've always been a speaker. And I was noticing how a lot of the networking available to us in Denver is very homogenous. And I was wanting to find my peers who could help me grow my business to 7 figures, who are also doing that too. It was near impossible to find. So that's when I started Denver Dames. And what I wanted to make sure is that it was different. And I made it different by creating and adopting the reverse mullet way of doing events. That means that we have the party in the front and the connection and the inspiration in the back. And we've always had female comedians or improv performers or humor forward speakers at our big events, because I wanted people to be able to laugh, break open, and connect more authentically. And then to have access to those women running 7-figure businesses like I did from the very beginning, so that we can, see that when other women are doing this, that it's possible for us too. Statistically speaking, this is the other reason why I created the Dames. Only 2%. Now it's moving closer to 3% of women-owned businesses ever hit 7 figures. And depending on what state you're in the US, 12 to 15% of us hit 100,000 in revenue, which basically means that most women business owners are in hobby status. That's great. Yep. We need women starting businesses. We really do. And my vision for the world is that women are going to shift the paradigm of business, and we are going to create the differences that are going to make business change. We're going to make it so that we have lives that we love and businesses that thrive, not just businesses that thrive and personal lives that suck. And so really that was the mission that I started out with. We have been running these events in Denver since 2015. I had a major spiritual breakthrough in 2017 that led me to rebrand as the Dames, led me to start creating chapters outside of Colorado, and also create the online platform in 2017, which came in handy in 2020 when I closed my marketing business and went full-time Dames and had a virtual chapter that was already spanning the globe, so that we could 3X in 2020 and 2021. So it is definitely a spirit-led business for me. It's an intuitive-led business. I have been constantly guided along the way as to what we need, what we create, what we offer in the Dames. And it has also been being that woman who is leading a 6-figure business growing to 7 figures, and surrounding myself with other women who are doing the same, and listening to them and asking them what they need, and teaching the things that I've learned along the way, and doing so with a healthy dose of humor all the way along.
And wow. So with that, I am a testament of that. But, it's funny that you say, the spirituality came and then everything kind of grew through that. And that's what happened with me. I was in the throes of some shit when my spirituality hit. But when I was done with it, I really leaned into it heavily. And everybody that I meet is woo. Like every single freaking person. Like Shoshana laughs because I call myself, witch light. So, but it's true, right? It's like all of aligning with your true self and your authentic self and really doing the inner work and doing that, getting in touch with that intuitive part of you. That is huge. And I'm speaking of that from experience. And, I talk about the dames. It's so funny all the time on the podcast because I have a lot of dames on and we're like, oh yeah, wait, you're in the dames. I didn't know you were in the dames. Or, sometimes I do know that they're in the dames. Yeah. But even if they're not, I talk about the dames because it has been such an integral part of my journey and growing. I started in 2022 and it's 2024. And last year, I'm not going to get into numbers, but my business freaking went, through the roof, revenue wise, not, income wise, but revenue wise. I remember I called you and I was like, and because I never expected it. But one of the things that the dames has helped with is being authentic, because that is, I think, the most important thing that you can do in business. All of these business people kind of come in and they're like, who am I going to be? How am I going to show up? And it's like, show up as you. Be you, because when you're you attract the right other yous, right? People who align with your values, and it becomes easy. Correct. It's not work at that point.
Exactly.
So, since you have started this amazing group, and there are people that you said are starter entrepreneurs, right? Like they're starting and they're thinking about, oh my God, I want to do this. Should I do this? What advice do you have
for the starter entrepreneurs? Yep. I would say that you just have to trust your intuition all the way through. And, some people would use different vernacular. So we accept and love Christians in the dames. We accept and love non-believers. We accept and love woo, etc. So for those whose vernacular may be that they, what's in accordance with their God's plan for them, I would say that that's the number one most important thing, is that you get very clear on that and you listen to that all the way along. In my vernacular, it's listening to that intuition. And it wasn't until I got in touch with my intuition and started listening to it that I realized that my consulting model in my business, in my marketing business, wasn't the model for me personally. And that the model that we have in the dames and this organization and the way that a business is run this way is a sweeter spot for me. It's a better fit for me and my energy and my vision, because my vision for the world is a world where more women are in the C-suite and more women are running 7, 8, 9, 10 figure businesses, so that we can really shift the paradigm of business. And we do so through the money, right? It's not about making money. It's about what we do with the making of that money. And are we going to actually shift the way that business is being done so that it's more healthy for women, so that we thrive, so that we are able to employ gainfully amazing people, so that we can create these dynamic company cultures, which we do very naturally, that transform not only our businesses, but our communities, our industries, and the world at large. So what are you going to do with that money? And if you are somebody who wants to start a business and it's going to be a hobby-based business, there's nothing wrong with that either. However, if you decide that you want to build a business that does grow to a scalable, sustainable, business where you have employees and you are you're going in that direction, there are different ways of setting up that business. But whatever it is for you, it's about setting it up based on your intuition, and everybody's journey is going to be their own. There's no, here's a 3-point formula for how you get there, because if I told you that, I'd be lying.
Right.
And, I wouldn't give away my journey for anything. It was really challenging in those first several years to be in business and to try to figure out what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. But I learned so much. My mom used to tell me, are you going to go back and get your MBA? And I'm like, I'm getting my MBA,
Exactly.
starting my business. I am getting it. It is live education. And, I don't have to walk away with a whole bunch of debt.
I mean,
hopefully. Yeah, I didn't. But the good thing is that, like you were talking about, some people find their path right away and they find the business model that works well for them right away, which it might be the case for you. And then you get to start working on, how do I increase my profits? Right. How do I increase my income? For some people, it's, getting into a business model and realizing, oof, this is not the right one for me, and I'm going to have to go into a different realm. Or some people come into starting their business and they're like, man, this does not feel right. And what I can say is, if you start a business and it feels like you're wearing your right foot shoe on your left foot or your right glove on your left, and you're walking around with your pants on backwards, it's probably not the right thing for you. And that's how I felt in corporate America, is that I was wearing my things all discombobulated and my right contact in my left eye and leaving myself blind in the other. That's how it felt for me. So if you are an entrepreneur and you start your business and you know that this is for you, you're in the right place. You just might have to transition lanes a few times before you get to that point where you know the right model for you, the right business for you.
Yeah. And I've seen it so many times with women in the dames where they're starting with one thing and then they pivot to another. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And, I just can keep using myself as an example. I kind of had an idea on what, I wanted. And then I knew that I probably needed a coach, which I never even thought about speaking with a business coach before, because
most people in corporate never do. It's a business owner thing. We understand the value of coaching pretty much right off the bat, because when you realize that most of us are technicians who are good at one thing, and now we have to run a business, which means we have to be good at a lot of things. And most of us are not great at that. I came in, my marketing knowledge was great. How do I run a business financially? How do I create systems and processes? How do I hire the right people? Right. How do I know, oh my gosh, how do I even know how to balance books? How do I create a budget? There's so many things that you have absolutely no idea about as a business owner when you start. So that's pretty normal,
it's true.
I would say.
And so I worked with Fabienne, who we both love dearly.
Love.
And I remember like 3 months in, I had my oh shit moment. It was just like it wasn't an aha moment. It was a oh shit moment. Just started laughing. And she's like, yes.
Yeah.
And that was it. Then I was really clear on stuff, and I kind of, knew what I needed to navigate. But
it takes a lot of vulnerability. Mm-hmm. It takes being humble. It takes knowing that we don't know everything. I'm so grateful that I was part of a mastermind business incubator for 4 years before, as I was starting the Dames, because I learned so much during that time. And there is a lot from that I impart upon our membership, because we don't understand a lot of these things. This is why we have a very, very big education component to the Dames, because the knowledge that you have to gain to grow a business from 6 to 7 figures is in all those different areas, and it's in personal growth. So like you said, you've got to have outside advisors that are going to help you grow your business. And that has to be part of your plan. That has to be part of your budget to really think about this. It's not just going and building a website and going out there to the world. It's That's your first iteration. And then you're going to figure out a lot of things by tripping over a lot of rocks and boulders along the way. That's for sure. I mean, unless you're just a natural business owner, which those do exist. And I know them, and I employ them because they are the geniuses.
I was not one. But I think that what I really love is the educational piece of it, because a lot of people don't have those resources. So, and a lot of women don't have those resources. And, you know, I talk about women business owners all the time, and people are like, well, you really never talk about guy business owners. And it's like, I don't really need to because they're like doing their thing. We're the ones that have to, what did Ginger Rogers say? You know, dance, you know, twice as good on high heels and backwards, right? That's what we do every day. But what I find really interesting is the level of the education, because these women are, and it's from 6 to 7 figures, but it's also from the very beginnings of 6 figures to like mid 6 figures. That's like a thing too, right? And I don't think a lot of people, you know, think like that. It's like, oh, well, I'm at 6 figures, I'm good. It's like, no, no.
You're one bad day away from back to 5 figures.
Easily.
Yeah. And it's a challenge. And this is why we provide the think tank circles at the 100K, 250K, 500K and 7-figure, 8-figure levels, because we know that those challenges are different at those different levels. And that a lot of times the education is needed most from that early 6 figures to the mid 6 figures level. That's when we need that education, because once you're already running a 7-figure business, you're using your peers or you're hiring experts to come in and you're having them completely revamp your processes, or you're having, you know, an external HR company handle your HR. But in those early 6 figures to about, you know, 300,000-400,000, you really need a lot of that education, and you need a lot of modeling. You need to be able to say, hey, I'm integrating into my business XYZ for the first time. Who else has done this? And would you be willing to get on a call with me for 30 minutes and help me figure out, like, what are some pitfalls I should avoid, or what are some secrets that I need to know about integrating my first CRM, for instance, or I'm using AI to automate these portions of my processes. And so we provide all these different resources because we know that that's what our dames need, right? We know that they're challenged with XYZ because we hear it all the time. We hear it in the think tank circles. We hear it in the Facebook group. I've been through it. Yes, exactly. But there are things that I wouldn't know because in my business model, I don't go through XYZ, but because I'm on all those think tank circles running those masterminds, I'm hearing all of the challenges that are coming from all the different businesses across all the different industries, and being able to then facilitate these amazing peer-to-peer problem solution situations, which then I can apply that information across to the other industries. It's an extraordinary viewpoint that I have that I am extremely grateful for and humbled by on a daily basis, because women trust me and trust their fellow dames with a lot. And I have to hold that space, and I take that very seriously, and I have to hold that information and confidence, and I take that very seriously. And it's just, it's really wonderful to be leading such an amazing community. And what you said earlier, the thing that is most important to me is that we create a safe space for women to be vulnerable and to go through these challenges in ways that our male counterparts don't, because we're not made the same. We're not made as women to put on more armor and to trudge through. We are made to be in community with each other, to let down our guard, to be vulnerable, to share what's going on for us, and to have others see us exactly where we are. And we are made to scale our businesses differently. We are made to do a lot of things differently. And I think that is something that I'm taking also very much to heart as a pioneer, because I will eventually write a book on how to do this, how to grow a business to 7 figures without losing out on life, while totally enjoying your life and having a personal life. Because I can tell you that when you asked me 10 years ago what I did in my spare time, I couldn't answer that question because I had no spare time. I was working 24/7. I didn't know how else to do it. And that's a lot of the reason of that is because I was trying to hustle and grind. And I learned by almost burning out several times that that was not going to be the way to do it.
And I think the other thing is, you talk about, the women in the group being vulnerable. You allow yourself to be vulnerable with us.
I strongly believe that the best leaders, the best female leaders, the best women leaders are those who are willing to be totally transparent and vulnerable. And I don't mean that in the sense of like, Brene Brown talks about if you're right in the midst, like during the first days of my divorce, during the first month, I was not talking about it publicly because I was in the thick of it. But as soon as I had gotten through that part of the eye of the needle, you better bet I was turning back and saying, hey, here's what's going on. And I was letting people know because I feel like it's really important. We all, as women, especially in the past, in order to get certain jobs, this is what I experienced, and I'm sure many of you have, we had to keep our personal lives completely out of it. If we had just had a parent die, if we had had a miscarriage, if we had had anything happening in our personal lives, there was no way in hell we could bring that to work, especially if we were high up on the food chain. And as a business owner, I think that's bullshit.
Oh,
I hope that was okay.
We said a lot worse. My friend Michelle
I think that
takes like a sip of wine every time I say fuck. Okay. So there we go.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. It's good. I think that it is just, we are needing to really radically change the way that we lead as women. And I'll never forget, here's a funny little story of how I think women think they're supposed to lead. I was early on in my business co-leading a workshop with a woman who's very well renowned, a business coach. And we're about to start the workshop and she's like, shit, I forgot my glasses. I can't see a damn thing. And she and her assistant were talking and she's like, the assistant and she were talking about how they're definitely not going to let anyone in the audience know that they had forgotten her glasses and that she was just going to wing it. And she was just going to, fly and hope that she was saying the things that were up on the slide. And I was like, couldn't you just tell people that you forgot your glasses and laugh about it? So that's how I lead. If I'm the person who completely forgets about things or I make up words all the time and I just laugh about it. I laugh at myself. I allow others to laugh. Right. And it's just like, you know what? We're human. We are not perfect. And perfectionism is one of those things that's killing us as women. So forget that. And let's instead be authentic people who have days that are shitty and days that are wonderful. Right. And let's be real about it.
I think that that's one of the things that I'm very forthcoming. I don't hold back. I don't,
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why you and I love each other.
This is not bullshit. This is like, real talk here. And, well, exactly. Right.
Well, this is real life.
I think a lot of people don't.
Business is real life.
I don't like, what am I trying to articulate? I'm trying to articulate this because it's like people always feel, not always, a lot of people feel that there has to be this, like you said, this curtain of perfection, this facade of perfection. And so when they do forget something or they do something, they almost look worse trying to cover up. It's like, just no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they beat themselves up. And this is where, when you kind of look at different stages of business, and this is why personal growth is so important, right? Mm-hmm. This is why we infuse it in everything we do. Because if you are thwarted by imposter syndrome 24/7, or if you have anxiety and you're not working on it with a therapist or a healer, or if you have, if you are harboring trauma that you haven't worked on and you're trying to move forward in your business and you keep hitting these walls or these ceilings and wondering, what's the next business coach I need to hire? How do I get past this? What's my next tactic or strategy for beating this door down? But if you don't look first at those things that I just mentioned and deal with those, you're going to be constantly sideswiped by those issues. They're going to come in other ways. They're going to come with other faces, other masks, other layers. And so this is why it's so important to take personal responsibility and to know that if I were out there leading as the leader of the dames and showing only the beautiful, bright, like I say, unicorn farts and shitting rainbows, you guys would feel like you had to be like that. Like you have to be perfect. Like there never can be a mistake. Like there never can be anything bad going on.
Well, and the thing that comes to mind for me was, and it was so funny. When we were at the Fun Friends and I bumped into Kat, or I don't know what happened, but my food ended up all over you. With anybody else, I think I would have been completely horrified and beating myself. And with you, the three of us just laughed. We were laughing. We were like, okay, this kind of sucks, but let's clean this up. And like the three of us are like, cleaning up and making, jokes and everything. And it took this,
of course,
what could have been with a different person, shitty situation. And it just made it okay. And normally I would be beating myself. Oh my God, I can't believe Meghann of all people, like who I love. And we're in the middle of this thing and didn't even enter my mind. It was like, okay, we cleaned her up. Shit happens. And it was done. And that was a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
And I always allow people that space with me. For me, it's like, you're going to mess up. I don't, it happens. You don't have to beat people for it. You don't have to beat yourself for it. I try to tell my wife that. Like she'll, she's an engineer. She'll mess something up. And like for 2 weeks, it's like, oh my God, stop. You got to stop beating yourself. And she's gotten better because I've been beating it out of her. No, I'm not beating her.
We get beaten enough by society, for God's sakes. Right? How about let's not beat ourselves up?
So many women in business do it. And it's like, you know what? You just need to realize that those days are going to be here. And you're probably going to have 100 bad days. And it's okay. Because you're probably going to have 100 good days. So just, just let it even out.
That's exactly
I had to do this presentation. Well, I didn't have to, but I'm in another a local networking group. And our speaker wasn't going to be there the next day. So they were like, well, who's going to speak? And I was like, whatever, I'll do it. And I threw this like 10 slide thing together, just thinking I was going to be speaking to the same people. So I was just going to go over what referrals I need and, be done with it. We had 5 visitors in the morning. And I was like, well, shit. Yeah. So I pretty much stood up and I said, was not expecting you guys here today, but since you're here, you're getting the whole spiel. And then I just did like, my whole thing, because I know my business, right? And I had 2 people come up to me after it and say, that was so amazing. You were just like, not even phased. And I wasn't like at all. It was like, okay, they're here. And so let's do this.
That is a sign of a high caliber business owner right there, Iris, because you've done the work on yourself to get through those times when, you've been through hard stuff over the last few years. I've been through hard stuff. If we hadn't done the work on ourselves to really get through the trauma that we've been living through, we wouldn't be able to do that. We wouldn't be able to stand up at any given time and give a commercial or give a presentation on something that we're an expert in. And that's what dames look like. We've done the work beneath the surface so that we can show up at any given time and be our true, authentic selves, because we are freaking experts in our fields. You don't get to 6 figures and beyond without being an expert, period. End of sentence. You've been working long enough in your area of expertise to shine. And if you come into an organization like this and you allow yourself to be surrounded by other experts and you don't compare yourself to them, but instead you say, how do we collaborate with each other? And then you learn how to shine the light on other people just as much as you ask for the light to be shined on you. That is when you become a high caliber, high performing, amazing, loving, funny being who people just want to be around. And you become a success overnight. Right. And I don't mean that. That's not true. You become a success through that hard work, through going through all those eyes of the needles, as I call it, because that's not how most women business owners start out. And even when women come into the dames, that's not how they start out. Yeah. They aren't, they're not necessarily someone who can articulate and speak exactly who they are, who they work with, how they're packaging and pricing and positioning of their offerings is perfect for their target audience and who their best collaborators are, et cetera. That's not something that a lot of people can do, but you better bet if you step in the ring and you come into the dames and if you ask for support, you receive it, you're going to get clearer. You're going to be able to do exactly what you did there.
Attributed to that because 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, there's no way in hell I would have been like, there's 5 more people here. And it would have been,
right. Well, and to your credit, there is a difference when you are surrounded by, whether it's virtually or in person. So if you're in the dames and you're a virtual member, so you're participating just as everybody else is with women from all over the world in different levels of business, in different industries. And if you learn how to speak to them and you learn how to be in company of them, whether you come to the Funference in person or you're meeting them online, you can encounter almost anything. And that's why we call it an incubator for the greatness of women. Because if you can come in here and you can practice in a safe space with all of us, you can ask the deep questions, you can get curious, and you can really say, hey, raise your hand. I don't know how to do this. I'm really good at this, but I don't know how to do this. Who can I meet with that can help me get better at this? And maybe that's you needing to hire a coach, or maybe that's you needing to hire a better accountant, or maybe it's you needing to learn more about XYZ. But if you can admit that to yourself and do the work, that's what helps you scale and grow a sustainable business while being an amazing your life. Woman.
And I think that's the most important
exactly.
thing. What I love is that women, come into this group and they'll, announce themselves in the dames and, they're like, hi, I'm new. And it's like, hey, welcome. If you need any, whatever, just, reach out. And I'll get DMs from people and they're like, what is this? What do I do? And I'm like, you are in the most amazing place that you could be in, because any question that you have will be answered. You just have to ask it. And to be.
Yep. And if you don't have the courage to ask it, we'll help you get the courage to ask it.
And I get so excited about it because, for me, it's like I've been talking to anybody I talk to that I meet online. I'm like, are you 6 figures? You need to be a dame, right? It's like I talk to them all the time, and the past couple of months, a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to do that yet. I spoke to somebody last week who was like, yes, absolutely. So I was excited about that. So they'll be, talking, but it's also the way that people talk about the organization. And for me, it has been such it feels like a warm hug. I mean, I think that's the best way I could put it. I remember at the Funference last year when I was getting ready to do the karaoke thing, and they called me up and Fabienne hugged me, and I just dissolved into like this mountain of tears. And, she's like, it's okay, let it out. She's like, why are you crying? And I'm like, because I do belong in this fucking room. And it was such a pivotal moment for me because of all of that trauma and all of the other stuff, to be able to be like, holy crap. It was so huge. And of course, Fabienne said, "Can I talk about you in the morning?" And I said, "Yes." And I come running in late, which Annie was like, I thought that was like the best thing ever. I'm like, I overslept. But that was okay too, right? It was just like one of those things that it's such a loving, accepting community. And you were talking about Christian and woo and, whatever religion it is, but also gay, straight, trans, whatever. It doesn't matter, how you
100%.
identify or who you are. We accept you fully. There's no doubt. There's no question. Right.
And it's everywhere.
And that's why I say it's like a warm hug, because it's so enveloping. You just like walk into it and you feel, I remember when I got to Denver and I met everybody, it was intense because it was like, oh my God, you're amazing online, but in person, it was unbelievable. The whole thing was unbelievable. It was just, and each woman was just, it was just amazing. So you have put together this amazing community, and people like, I'll talk to people and they're like, thank God that you did this. Thank Goddess, the universe, whoever, right? That you had the wherewithal and the intuition to be able to lean into the world needs this, because the world needs this. And
it does. And I definitely was a pioneer back in 2015, starting this, and then in 2017. And really, I lean into that knowing all the time. And it's not easy to lead a community of hundreds of women, opinionated, strong women. But I have learned so much leading this group, and I've become so humbled, and I've learned my own self-worth because of leading this group. I've learned how to love myself more, and I've learned that in order for me to really be able to lead this community, that's what I need to consistently do, is just build up my own self-love and recognize that other people who have issues with the dames or with me or whatever, those problems are none of my business. And I am here to really lead this community of people who understand that we are all personally responsible for our own experiences, and that we can choose to either go through life in a grunt, in a humph, in an Eeyore state, or we can choose to really embrace the ridiculousness of life, as our beloved friend Jen Koken says all the time. And we can really, truly step into our own light and our own leadership, and really grow with our businesses. And that is what I hope for billions of women. And that's why I am in this model, so that I can touch millions and billions. And, people ask me like, what's next for you? Like, where do you see yourself? And I love Amma. I don't know if you know her. She's a healer who heals people by hugging. And that is part of my gift. And I really do that. I hold people and I hug them and I help them transform through things. And that's just one little part of this dame's secret sauce, is our hugs and our high fives. And it's really about seeing people exactly who they are, where they are, and helping them transform and get to where they want to be, wherever that is. Because we're all very different. Some of us don't want to go to 7 figures. Some of us want to have a kick-ass mid-6-figure business that provides us and our families with exactly, enough to be able to give to some of the causes that we believe in. Some want to get to 8, 9, 10 figures, and everything in between is all amazing and perfect as long as we are understanding what our overall desired impact is on this planet, so that when we leave, we're leaving feeling like we didn't work our asses off too much, but we also didn't leave our missions far behind. That we spent enough time and a glorious amount of time with our families, our friends, that we saw the world that we wanted to, that, that we really lived our lives. And that's what the Dames is all about, really.
There's this forum and this space for everybody. I gotta go back to Fun Friends, and I just see Sonia in her robe. I mean, to me, that was like the best thing ever, right? She's like, I want to get in that pool, so I'm gonna.
The best.
I know, and like,
she was so embarrassed.
Like the best thing I've ever seen.
I was like, and then
yes,
now she's the icon. And then Lori Handlers, who was, we turned into an impromptu bachelorette party for her because she was getting married for the first time at 70. Just these are the things that happen so naturally when you get a group of women together who feel like they belong, who know that they have such incredible contributions to make to this world.
Yeah. And it's
just freaking beautiful.
What I love, I think, the most out of everything is that we truly celebrate each other. We celebrate our wins. We celebrate our, if we have a loss, we celebrate each other, because at the end of the day, it doesn't make you a worse person. It happens, but we lift you up and we hold you up, and you know what, you're going to get through today. And
we console each other when necessary.
Amazing. I'm like, so I'm not going to get teary, but I just feel, I'm sure.
I've already done that like 5 times.
I just feel so blessed that Nina was like, you need to join this group. And I was like, but I'm not there yet. She goes, just go to the thing. And then the universe was like, yeah, you belong there. Let's go. It was crazy. It was just like insane. Overnight. But oh goodness. Okay. So we're nearing an hour. So I wanted to, okay. So a little.
Want to wrap up? No.
You've gone through obstacles.
Yeah.
Ish. You've gone through obstacles.
I've gone through obstacles.
Many. What is something that you've come through the other side of that you can give seasoned entrepreneurs advice on?
A business. I have the
business.
needle. You mean, or personal?
Right.
Because I got plenty of both. Okay, let's see. So what I can say is that's, I think, important for especially women business owners, but all business owners, is anytime you make a shift in some major part of your business, you are going, like, you can expect to and plan for a bit of a slump or a downsizing before it expands again. So if you change your target market, if you change your positioning, your messaging, if you change the way that you've packaged, priced, or positioned your offerings, if you change any of those major things, you're going to experience a period of calm before the big, I wish we're on a podcast. So it's like, you've got a decline before you have the incline. And that is very natural. You're never going to know how long that decline is going to last or when it's going to pick up again. This is why intuition is so important, but this is also why planning ahead is so important. This is even when you're thinking about investing in something in your business. Before you invest in it, making sure that you have budgeted for it. I can remember back to when I hired my first team member, Kyle, who is still one of my best friends, even though he's not, working in the Dames anymore. But for 8 years he was. And before I hired him, the best thing that I could have done was I saved, I think 6 months of his salary aside in an account. And this was a time when I was first learning Profit First. And, that's been an important tool that I've been using ever since. And thinking about, I mean, there's so many different tools that we need to learn as business owners, but if we can trust in our own path and trust in our intuition, we'll know which are those things we need to weave in and out of our businesses. But just keep the understanding that when you do make these major shifts, if you experience that lull or that downturn, don't hit the panic button. You got to stick with it and you got to stay true to it and keep moving forward, but also don't just shut off, right? It's like you're in marketing. I've been in marketing forever. We understand that you don't just put a sign outside of your building and all of a sudden the whole community comes to your store. You don't just put one post up on Facebook and all of a sudden your class is full. You don't just do one thing and then the whole world comes. So if you build it, yes, they will come, but you have to also invite them to come. So make sure that you stick with it and know that you have the resources in backup in your catcher's mitt, so that if there's something that you need to do to cover finances a little bit more for a period of time, or if you need to have an extra person on hand for a period of time, you got to think about it from both sides, right? Making sure that your intuition is in tune with it and that the changes you're making are a hell yes for you, but also do you have the financial cushion to help you get through those periods of time?
You are awesome. And I forgot what's your character's name? I can't remember her name.
My character? I have plenty of characters. I have Sylvia. We could talk about Sylvia, or I have Margie. Margie's from Minnesota.
Nellie.
Or I have Nellie. Nellie. Yeah. Did you want to talk to Nellie? Did you have a question for Nellie?
That one of the things that you touched on earlier was collaboration. And one of the things that I found is in the community that I'm in, and I think it's getting a little bit better, but everybody was competition. And for me, it was like, why? Why can't we just why can't we get along, right? Why can't we just collaborate? Yes, you're a marketing agency. So am I. Maybe there's something that you need help with. Maybe there's something I need help with, and we can collaborate. So,
well, honey, if you are good at understanding what you are really great at, then it shouldn't need to compete. You shouldn't need to, darling, because if you know why you're here on this planet and you have a clear understanding of your mission and your vision, then you're not going to step on my toes, because I've got mine too. And you know what? There's more than enough business to go around for all of us, whether we're in the same industry or not. So as long as I can get clear on who it is that I'm here for, and I can work with those people, then I'm going to listen when you tell me who you work with, and I'm going to be able to send those people to you. And you know what else I can do to collaborate with you, Iris? I can listen to what your problems are, and maybe I have a solution because I've been through that before. And I'd love to share that with you. And maybe that'll help your life be easier and help you get through that transformation faster. That's a form of collaboration. Or maybe, Iris, maybe you are such a genius in one form of marketing that I'm not in. And so I could bring you in for a project or 2 or 10. And I could say, hey, Iris is the person who's going to handle this part. And I'm going to handle this part. And we're going to flap our wings together. And it's going to be an amazing result. There's all kinds of collaborations out there. Just depends on what kind you want to wear. Do you want to wear the single leg stocking or the pantyhose, or what kind do you want? I can talk about them all day.
Nellie, thank you so much.
You're welcome,
Absolutely.
honey. Thank you for inviting me over.
Where can people find you, or do they not find you and they just, I know where they can find the Dames. Is it, thedames.co? You're on LinkedIn.
Yes, thedames.co. If you are currently a woman who is running her own 6, 7, or 8-figure business, or you're a woman in a director or higher position of a large organization, and you've been, just struck by this message, we'd love to have you come to thedames.co/roundtable. You can come check us out there, or you can come and apply straight on our website at thedames.co/apply. And if you would like to connect with me or the Dames online, our handle on Facebook and Instagram is @thedamesco. With me, Meghann Conter, you'll have to find that spelling in the show notes because it's funky. But I'm always up for connecting on LinkedIn. So feel free to send me a little special message, and I'd love to connect with you there. I just, I love being out there talking about collaboration, entertaining people, and helping break down these more complex concepts into digestible, fun information. So I'd love to have you follow me.
I love
online.
you so dearly. No, thank you. And
Iris.
the
Thank you
last question that I ask all my guests is, what lights your fire?
Mm-hmm. Come on, baby, light my fire. It is witnessing these transformations that I see on a regular in the Dames. So it's the times when people like you call me and or text and or send me a message through our directory and say, I just had the most amazing thing happen to me, or I just got over this mark, or I just had the most incredible breakthrough. That is what lights my fire and keeps me going, is hearing all of those transformations that I get to witness, see with my own eyes, or hear about. And it just makes me so happy.
Well, there's that warm hug. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your, I know, insanely busy day. So hang on one second. I'm going to say goodbye and I'll be right back. Everybody. Okay. Thank you so much for hanging out for an hour plus, like you always do. I hope that today you learn to love Meghann as much as I do, because she truly, I just love her so much. If you've gotten any nuggets out of this, go like, share, subscribe. When you subscribe, you get notification of a new episode of the Cookbook. And who doesn't want a new episode of the Cookbook? I mean, come on. I just love you all. I love you all for just allowing me to keep doing this, because the more you watch, the more you listen, the more you download, the more you share, the more I get to keep doing this. So thank you all so much. And until next time, go out and find what lights your fire. See you, everyone.